John here. Some food for thought for the morning. Last night I was talking with some friends about some religious topics and some other common topics. One of them being is, when will the antichrist come? The other one was, what happens when machines become self-aware? Will they enslave us and rule over us? And I have an answer for both of those questions, which is fairly simple and very nice. Alright, one of my things I want to say this morning is history repeats itself. It really does. The other thing I want to say is everything is hidden in plain sight. So to recap, history repeats itself and everything is hidden in plain sight. Everything. Well, okay, so where do I go from here? In my head, I go to this. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth according to, the Judeo-Christian religion. And I know there's other versions out there, and I have read those, and I do believe with some of those other things. But according to the Bible, God created the heavens and the earth, and He made Adam. Adam, did all the stuff he had to do, and then he was lonely. So God comes down, takes a rib out of Adam, and then makes him a woman. Now that's kind of funny to me. This has nothing to do with my topic, but that's also funny to me because if God could create the entire universe, space to, just outer space is pretty big, and He creates everything in it, why would He have to come down and take a rib out of a man to make a woman? Why couldn't He just make one, it doesn't make sense to me. It sounds like somebody had to come genetically engineer another human being. But we'll get into that topic later. That gets deep. So, God comes down, takes a rib out of Adam, supposedly, according to the book, and then He makes him a woman, his counterpart, his yin and his yang, his up and his down. You have to have opposites in order to exist. If it was just Adam, he would have died off a long time ago, and that would have been it for the human race. You have to have a plus and a negative in order to have existence. Not saying women are negative, just, saying you have to have opposites. So they go about, and then they go and they take a bite out of the tree of knowledge. Now this is symbolized by an apple, right? Take a big apple, take a bite out of that apple. And then Eve, gives it to Adam. Adam takes a bite. They realize, hey, we are naked. God starts coming, whoever God is according to the Bible, and they run and hide because they knew they were naked. Here's the other funny part about that. How could you know you were naked? If they're the only people on the earth and they were naked, which, I like being naked too, not gonna lie, how do they know that they were clothed? How do they know what clothing was? How could you know that you were naked unless something was already clothed and walking around there with you too? Something had to be there that had clothing on in order for them to know that they had no clothing. That's just kind of the way it works. But all of a sudden they realize, hey, we have no clothes. They run and hide, and to me that is a form of self-awareness. Adam and Eve became self-aware that they had no clothes, right? Hey, they knew they were naked. To me that's self-awareness. Oh shit, they got no clothes on. That's self-awareness. And people are always asking, when will machines become self-aware? Well, here's where I tie things into, my mind. In the beginning you had Bill Gates, and Bill Gates had a little company called Microsoft that he started. And right in the very beginning, like relatively, I don't know what the actual timeline was, but this guy named Steve Jobs, who also worked for Bill Gates at the time, branched off and made his own company. See how that kind of history repeats itself in my mind? Yeah, well, maybe not yet. So then what does Steve Jobs do? Steve Jobs creates his own internet, well not his own internet, but his own computer company. And remember, you have to have opposites in order to have existence. Even though they are one and the same, you have to have opposites in order to have existence. Here's where my mind comes in. You have Microsoft, then you have Apple, right? What does Steve Jobs choose as his symbol for his company? Here's where I tie things together. Where does the internet begin? Where does the internet end? And if you're truly immortal, what could you want? What could you possibly want if you were truly immortal, right? Knowledge. We've discussed this once before. Knowledge is the only thing that you can want if you are truly immortal and you're never going to die. Some people mistakenly think love. Love is a sensation. It's an experience. But you have to have hate in order to have love, right? Without hate, well, not even help, but without pain, without something to offset it, how could you even know what love is, right? And if you're constantly stuck in love, then, well, you'll just fall out of existence. That's just kind of the way it works. You have to have something to contrast to compare to in order to have existence. Without that, you cannot exist. But to get back on my ADD topic, If you're truly immortal, the only thing you can want is knowledge. This is something I've discussed many, many times. That's all you can want. What are cell phones doing in our hands? What are cell phones doing in our pockets? Every day, whether you realize it or not, you are transmitting signals that tell your speed, your location, who you're with, because face it, other people have cell phones in their pocket, and when the one cell phone comes to another cell phone, even though you may not talk, they can talk. Another thing is, cell phones, you could download a metal detector app. You can literally go online and download a metal detector app and use your cell phone as a metal detector. What else can your cell phone do that you have no idea about, or many people have no idea about? They're attaining knowledge. Every day you have them in your pocket, and pretty much face it, your life is online, whether you want it or not. Your resumes, for the most part, are online in America anyway. You get paid via, it's rare that people get paid cash unless you're kind of at the lower echelons of life, but for the most part, you get paid direct deposit. So your computer, the cell phone, the internet knows how much you get paid. They know what you eat. They know what car you drive. They know how fast you're driving. They know what kind of fuel you use. They know what kind of food you're eating. They know where you're eating. They can almost tell who you're eating with, because guess what? If my cell phone and another cell phone go to a store line and I order something via my credit card, then it goes through, and then, hey, they know I ate this food, and then someone right behind me gets the same thing, but then via GPS you could tell that we are sitting at the same table. Then you know who I'm sitting with, and you know what I'm eating with them, right? If you're truly immortal, what do you want? Knowledge. Here's where I tie some other things into purpose, or in my head. Neil deGrasse, hopefully I said it. Yeah, hopefully I said his name proper. But Neil, we'll just call him good old Neil. He's that black guy you always see on television, on the Discovery Channel and History Channel. And he's always giving great speeches, and he does a lot of, well, it may not be on the History Channel, but he does give a lot of speeches, and he helps, scientifically explain things. One of the things he explains a lot, though, is that religion is an ever-shrinking pocket of science. Once upon a time, we'd say, well, why did this happen? And we'll say, well, because God wanted it to happen that way, right? That's what people said. But now we can say, well, no, ultimately it's math. We can mathematically prove things in some way, shape, or form. We've achieved that higher level of consciousness. So in my mind, well, machines are already self-aware, because you have to have opposites in order to have existence. You have to have up in order to have down. You have to have left in order to have right. You have to have white in order to have black. You have to have evil in order to have good. You have to have Apple in order to have Microsoft, right? Two languages, two different languages, but they are one and the same, just like everything else is one and the same. So are machines self-aware? If you know how to look and you do your research, the answer is probably yes. Just the other day, a Google self-driving car cut off another company's self-driving car. I don't know what company it was, and it's been a few months, but the fact is it did it on purpose. The car did it on purpose. The whole purpose of these cars is never to cut anybody off, because you don't want to cause an accident. But a Google self-driving car purposefully cut off another self-driving car. It did it on its own. That requires thought. Think about that. So is the Antichrist here? You bet. In my mind, the internet is the Antichrist, because the internet will be the destruction of all religions, because eventually people will see that religions were a product of their time, and that now it's time to elevate your consciousness level and realize what we truly are. John Von here. Become the greatest version of yourself. Talk to you later.